So it's February, and if you're applying to medicine or dentistry, there are certain things that you should be doing at this stage of the game. So we're going to go through 5 of those things to be on top of now to set you up nicely for when it comes to summertime and you're really going guns blazing to be on top and maximize your chances of succeeding. So the first thing is more of a habit than anything else, and it's to stop trying to catch up. Now is the time that if you haven't started already, you will start experiencing things piling into the next month, then exams will come around and things will all kind of domino into one another, and then it will start toppling over. This is the time to really think about what you've done so far, what you need to do, plan ahead and start laying out the roadmap, because what typically happens is that people will start thinking, okay, I'll just do that next month, I'll work harder at this sort of time, not realizing that they're then going to have that other thing to do, and it's all just going to get a bit overwhelming. So now is the time to get into a good rhythm, get into good habits, and really just start preparing and sharpening the axe, as they say, for being in a really good spot to do well and pounce when it comes to the crunch time, basically. And that really rolls into the second tip, which is to lock in your exam rhythm, not your exam content. Right now, you're gonna have things coming up that might be university exams, or if you're at school, you'll have A-levels or those mock exams that you'll get in the summer. And also alongside that, you're going to have things like the UCAT, the GAMSAT to worry about. And really now what you need to establish is that you've got the base layer, the foundations. If you hear me talk about the kind of 3 stages of UCAT prep in this video here, you'll see that there is a time to lay the foundations and understand the rhythm that you're going to need to work towards, the routines, making sure that you are kind of almost optimized how you are preparing and how you're scheduling your day around these things, so that when you come to that exam, when you come to that prep time, you'll just kind of slip straight into that mode that you've kind of almost been rehearsing right now. So with that, number 3 is start thinking one step ahead. So really, when I'm thinking about in September, I need to submit a really solid application, there are some things that you want to start doing now to make sure that you're ready for that then. So the first thing is start collecting work experience, whether it's extracurricular activities, whether it's shadowing itself, whether it's volunteering that you're racking up, or a paid job. These are all really important. You'll have seen in this playlist here that I do a whole playlist dedicated to work experience for medicine, and if you're applying to dentistry, I do a separate one here that's specific for that. So think about those things. That's the one thing that you need to get ahead of. Like I said, thinking about how you are going to approach UCAT and getting into a rhythm for that so that you're ready is another way to think ahead. Thinking about what kind of universities you want to go for, because there are 2 kind of approaches to uni selection. Remember, university selection is, to me, arguably the most underestimated, and I don't know whether I'd say it's the most valuable, but it's the thing that when people come to us for help because they've not got in several times and we fix it, a lot of the time it's about matching the universities to them. So there are 2 kinds of people. There are the people who I really want to go to King's College London and I am going to set myself up to be the kind of person that King's College London want. And also you've got to bear in mind that if you do that, you need to keep it good enough and general enough for other universities as a backup. But then there's the other people who I just want to get in, I just want to build it to be as strong as possible. Either way, it's good to start looking at universities and thinking, right, is there one that I particularly have my heart set on that I'm going to aim for? But also start thinking about which universities you'd like to consider, because once you've started looking at websites for certain universities, you'll start to get a feel of generally which ones might suit you and you might be kind of in the running for. So when you get your UCAT result and you kind of get to the point where you are choosing universities, you'll have in your head roughly which ones are suited and which ones you want to go for, and that narrows it down between now and then which ones you might want to visit, because that's probably the biggest tell of whether you actually want to go there, whether you get a vibe when you see it and you arrive there in person. That will be the best way to start kind of having it in your mind, so that when it comes to the time to decide, you'll already have filtered a few out, or you have an idea of what you want to go for, and that will guide you to be a bit more focused with the ones that you want to take a deeper look into, basically. So the next thing you should be doing this time of year is that I would say, instead of focusing on your weakest topic, focus on your weakest habit. It's almost, the habits are the upstream thing that are going to bleed into that, and discipline is going to be one of your biggest strengths when you're going through this application process. So trying to make sure that you are set up, it kind of bleeds on from theme 2 and 1, that if we're set up in a way that when it comes to action time, we are ready to go, this is the sort of thing that we want to do now. So some kind of universal, obvious, but often overlooked key habits are making sure we're getting enough sleep, making sure we're having a right balance between working and resting. You can't just, it's like a car engine, you can't just rev it to max and all the time non-stop. It needs a bit of time to rest. When we're working, making sure that we have a plan, but also probably the highest impact thing that you can do when you're revising is to then review. There's something called the forgetting curve, and it means that when you learn something new, you are likely to forget it at certain points. I think off the top of my head, it's something like an hour, 1 day, and I think it's 3 days or a week, and it goes on. I'll put it on screen. But if you can be smart about when you're learning, when you're preparing, when you're revising, and hit the refresh button or the reminder button for those times, that will mean that it embeds a lot quicker rather than spending loads of hours trying to learn it really well and then not looking at it for another month and then coming back again. If you can almost play into how your mind naturally works and play it to this natural cadence that your brain works at, it'll help you remember things much better for much longer, and then ultimately it's a lot more efficient. And the final thing is, don't isolate yourself. Medicine requires collaboration, both when you get to university and you're studying in groups, all the way when you get into your career. Dentistry is similar at university, but obviously you're working as part of a team still as a dentist, even if you're operating by yourself. So working on this sort of stuff with other people can keep you accountable, can help you share ideas, and it can just be someone to vent and share with and understand, because usually what you'll find is people are going through the same problems and experiencing the same issues, whether it's just someone to reassure you and talk about it or offer some solutions. It's great to do this with other people. That's why I might as well put a little plug for the Future program, which you can find out more about here. But we are a group of people who are all in the same boat, applying to medicine and dentistry, and we're all in it together, sharing ideas, sharing the experience together, and that community helps elevate all of us so that we perform better. And that is why we have such a good success rate with getting students into their chosen university. So I would recommend that you check out the website, see a bit more about our success rates, how we do it, how we operate, and why we have such an amazing experience for students, so that you can find out a little bit more and decide whether you want to apply to join. But otherwise, keep going. This is the time to hunker down, get ready for kind of like the big, the big crunch time that's going to come in a few months. And the more that you prepare now, the better you'll do. The saying goes that the more you sweat in training, the less you'll bleed in battle. So we're kind of getting ready for that, and now is the time to start thinking about it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.